Hello and welcome to Norwood News. Today is Friday, January 19th, and I'm your host, Kristen McDonald. It's great to have you with us as we end another week here in Norwood. This week on Norwood News, a mouth-watering living local. Joe Delicarpini talks about the recent storms and El Nino. But first, Chief Brooks warns why you should consider bringing your mail inside the post office.
Hi, this is Chief Bill Brooks. I want to speak a little bit about a matter that we've covered before around the theft of mail from mailboxes and the subsequent passing of stolen checks. So what we've talked about before are people that would go into mailboxes and they would fish the mailboxes. The way this used to happen is that they would take soda bottles on a string, and the soda bottles would have fly paper wrapped around them or some other gummy substance. They would drop it into the mailbox. It would adhere to some of the mail. They would then fish it out, which is where the term comes from, and they would open the mail. And the mail that had checks in it, they would then wash and negotiate. So the way that was done was there's a formula that they can use, and they wash the check, and it for the most part takes the ink off. They would then take the blank check, make it out to themselves or a co-conspirator, and make it out for whatever amount they wanted. And then they would go and negotiate the check. And sometimes the people doing the fishing of the checks and then making them out would actually make them out to a cohort who would then actually go into the bank and try to cash them. So what we had recommended to the U.S. Post Office, and this is something that they've done, is that they have replaced all of the mailboxes in the town or reconfigured them so that you no longer have, the drawer that you pull down with the large opening that you put the mail in through. Now, if you've noticed, there's a very thin slot, and it's actually got a device on the inside so that you can push the mail in, but it would be difficult to get it back out. And unfortunately, the post office has replaced all of the mailboxes in town so that they are this new anti-theft type. So you'd think the problem would be over. Not quite. Unfortunately, some of the people in these crews have actually gone out and begun holding up letter carriers. The letter carriers carry a key called an arrow key. It's a very specific key that is used to open mailboxes. So they've actually robbed, sometimes at gunpoint, letter carriers just for the purpose of stealing the arrow key. They then take that arrow key, open mailboxes, and as I described before, take out mail that has checks, wash the checks, and then negotiate them. So the recommendation that we had made before about bringing your mail inside the post office, that's back, because that really is the way to thwart this particular system. And I know that it's a pain and it's inconvenient, but if you can, when you go to the post office, park out front and actually carry the mail in. You don't have to stand in line. You don't have to go to the counter. As soon as you walk in, you'll see that there's slots for you to put your mail, and it goes directly into the mail system that way. That way it's never at risk of being stolen. So again, I know it's inconvenient, but I just suggest that people manage their mail that way, particularly if you're mailing a check. So sorry for bad news. It's the way that it is. We've had several people in Norwood who have been victimized in this way. So that's kind of a tip for today.
In more police department news, Deputy Chief Padden recently completed 11 weeks of training and graduated from the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia.
So the FBI National Academy is basically a law enforcement executive training program in essence. It's 11 weeks. You live down at the FBI Academy. My particular class had 200 officers from all over the world. We had 24 international students, and then the rest were nationally across the United States. We had students from Fiji, Germany, Cyprus, South Korea, Jordan. It was really interesting. And the purpose of the academy is so that you can network with other police officers and understand what's going on in their jurisdictions. And crime is interjurisdictional. We had a gentleman in our class that's a Nigerian financial crime person. And so we get a lot of Nigerian financial crimes where we have scams that originate in Nigeria. Now I have a contact where I can reach out to him, and surprisingly, believe it or not, that's a fairly common thing. The National Academy allows you to network with the people that are in your class, But what happens after that is you become a member of the National Academy Associates, which is about 50,000 police officers all across the world. So if you need somebody to reach out to somebody in another jurisdiction, you have that association. The classes basically break down into management, and then you pick up what other electives that you want to take. So I took a national security class, I took a forensics class, I took a management class, and then I took another class related to public speaking and presenting the law enforcement image and how the law enforcement organizations like ours should deal with media issues and problems. So it was really a good class. And I walked away with a graduate certificate in criminal justice for the classwork that I took because it's backed by the University of Virginia. But in addition to that, you're also doing physical fitness, so you have to, you have to run, you have to meet certain PT standards, and it all culminates with a 6-mile obstacle course that you have to run through the Marine base at Quantico that the Marines run. They call it the Yellow Brick Road. And so it really ends up being this whole process where you're thrown in almost like a police academy, but it's a police academy for executives. So it's really a great experience. It's very difficult to get into because they run 4 sessions per year, and it's only 200 police officers worldwide per session. So it's 800 cops per year worldwide that are trying to get in there. So I think I was on the list for probably 4 years, and you really have to you have to meet the physical standards, you have to meet the educational standards, and then when you go in there, you also have to do the coursework. I mean, I was writing papers over Thanksgiving. I haven't had to write like a college paper in a long time, but I wasn't too thrilled. But it was a great experience. I mean, we all get caught in the rut of our daily job, and to be able to unplug from the police department for 11 weeks and my entire life for 11 weeks and to go someplace else and go into an academic and physical situation where you have to do things that are completely different, it really kind of shakes you up your routine. And it gave me a good opportunity to really to learn a lot, to understand what I have and how much I appreciate, where I'm at. And, just for my career or anything along those lines, I don't know if it necessarily makes a difference. I'm where I am right now. I'm pretty far along. If I was at a younger level, it's a helpful thing to have that experience. But I'm very happy I had that chance to go because it kind of renews your enthusiasm in doing the job and helping people and doing what police have to do.
When Norwood News returns, we get a savory living local, a weather update, and Ron Marshalsea has the latest in sports.
A new episode of Your Town at Work, hosted by Jerry Slater, is now airing on the NCM Community Channel, a show where you learn what makes the town tick. On this episode, Jerry sits down with longest-running Finance Commissioner Judy Langone and current Finance Commission Chair Mayev Bodenhofer. Judy reflects on her 33 years as a commissioner, and Mayev discusses the move from school committee to Finance Commission. Only on Norwood Community Media, your home for all things Norwood.
Hungry people beware. The newest living local might make your mouth water. NCM brings you to Washington Street to get to know Bob Desmarais and Smokehouse Barbecue.
At 917 Washington Street, located inside Mr. Frank's Food Mart, you can find the one and only Smokehouse Barbecue. Owner of Smokehouse, Bob Desmarais, has been at this location for just over a year now.
I'm the owner, I'm the chef, I'm pit master, if you can say that, because I have electric smokers. So Smokehouse Barbecue, it's not regional, it's really what I like. For years I lived in the Caribbean, and I had a lot of friends from southern United States, and they all made barbecue. And some made it from this, and different styles from all over the place, and I kind of picked what I liked from where I liked it, and just kind of made it my own from there. I've been in the kitchens and cooking for 40 plus years. Spent a lot of time, dozen years down in the Caribbean. Again, introduced to a lot of different types of food, a lot of different regional foods, global foods down there. So it was eye-opening as far as cooking goes. I have a passion for barbecue, a passion for food in general, but barbecue in particular. It's always been right up my alley. Enjoy the slow smoked meats. It's just mouth-watering. I look forward to coming into work every day.
In addition to loving what he does every single day, he also loves the customer base that comes with being in a town like Norwood.
So I've only been here for 23 years, but Norwood is, there's no community like it that I've seen in my travels. You know, it's a wonderful home feeling, and the people here are amazing and phenomenal. Wouldn't be anywhere else. There's tremendous clientele here. Honeydew, Mr. Franks are wonderful people. They've been, phenomenal to me. The customers are, great. And I get to do my thing.
If the name Smokehouse seems familiar, you might remember the old location in South Norwood.
I had down in South Norwood, had Smokehouse Grill. It was a little bit different, very similar, a little bit different menus because I had some different equipment. But here we're just takeout, and so I don't have steak tips. There I had a grill, I had steak tips. Here I don't. There's not many barbecues in the area, for one. Another thing, like I said, a lot of places go sort of regional. This is Texas barbecue, this is Carolina barbecue. So I'm really kind of a hybrid of, I think, just what tastes good. All barbecue is good barbecue, but you got to cook it with love. Otherwise, you're not cooking if you're not cooking with love, right?
If you're looking for a meal for the whole family, or you just want to try something different for lunch, you can always head to Smokehouse Barbecue at 917 Washington Street. You can also order online at smokehousebarbecuego.com.
Well, I know what I'm getting for lunch today. Looks so good. Assistant Recreation Director Sam White has some exciting activities planned at the Recreation Department this winter.
Hey Norwood, Sam White here, Assistant Director for the Recreation Department. On behalf of myself and the rest of the recreation staff, we want to wish everyone a Happy New Year. I wanted to hop on here and just give a couple updates of what to expect early this year. On February 7th, we are doing a trip to Neshoba Valley for a half-day program. We are adding a second bus, so registration is still available. On Saturday, March 16th, we will be attending Boston Encore Casino. You have to be 21 and older, and registration is open now. We do want to make sure everyone saves the date for February 27th for spring and summer registration. We are just wrapping up the guide, so you should be receiving the guide shortly in the mail. And we do want to reiterate that if you do not have a Sportsman account, please hop on to the Town of Norwood website under Recreation. Click the Sportsman link. Make sure everything's set up in your Sportsman account. If you have any questions, please feel free to give us a call or email us. We're looking forward to 2024 and can't wait to see what the year is going to bring. Thank you.
Now let's toss it over to Bridget Kidd with the latest in school news.
I'm Bridget Kidd, and let's take a look at some activities happening in our Norwood schools this week. The NHS Guidance Department held a post-secondary planning night for the juniors. Representatives from UMass, Framingham, and Providence provided advice to parents and students as they begin to explore their opportunities after high school. If you missed this event, it will be rebroadcast by NCM, and the Guidance Department will share the link with parents and students. Coakley Middle School held their annual 6th grade Culture Day for all 6th grade teams. Each class researches a country, got into groups with different topics about the countries, and then presented to the whole team. Students presented in front of around 90 people. Following the presentations, they had a cultural feast for students who brought in recipes from their own cultures. Also at the CMS, if you are interested in being part of the Grade 8 End-of-Year Events Committee, please email Dr. Frazek at mfrazek@norwood.k12.ma.us. They will set up a first meeting later this month. All meetings are virtual. During the month of December, students at the Balch School celebrated an hour of code at all grade levels in library classes with Miss Duffy. Different grades use different online resources to practice the problem-solving principles needed when writing computer code. 5th graders use Scratch to write original code animating sprites. 4th graders utilize code.org, applying block coding to move sprites within mazes and practice debugging code. 3rd grade students logged into Codable to apply coding concepts to mazes and created original fuzz characters. 1st and 2nd graders used Scratch Junior to practice using blocks and sequence to make their chosen sprites, characters, move around their chosen background. Students are encouraged to continue their exploration of coding with these online tools. At the Callahan School, 5th grade student leaders Mason, James, and King led yet another whole school assembly. Students in different grade levels answered questions about empathy. The Callahan is ready to add more content to the next assembly and hear from more students. At the Cleveland School, students have been taking part in a local fundraising effort and have been collecting items to support Annie's Closet. Last week at the Prescott School, students in 4th and 5th grade participated in the preliminary round of the Scripps National Spelling Bee. The National Spelling Bee began in 1925 when 9 newspapers joined together to host a spelling bee. Little did they know that almost a century later, their literacy efforts would reach millions of students each year. All 4th and 5th grade students participate in the preliminary round, and the top 15 spellers from 4th and 5th grade combined will advance to the next round in school in February. Last year, the Prescott had 1 student advance to the state level in Lynn, Massachusetts. Good luck to all of the participants this year. The Willett School is transforming into a winter wonderland as they solve puzzles with Gigi for the winter waddle and prepare to snowman stroll around the school. Gigi is a penguin on a journey through the world of math. Students help Gigi overcome obstacles by solving math puzzles, and they associate Gigi with the thrill of challenge and success. Preschoolers had lots of fun learning about penguins this week at the Little Mustangs Preschool Academy. They have learned lots of interesting facts about penguins, including that they are birds but they cannot fly. During this circle time, they read penguin stories and sang 5 Little Penguins song with the help of the touch view screen. Students waddled around the classroom like penguins and did a little penguin dance using their flipper arms. During art, students followed directions to complete cute penguin headbands and had fun wearing them around the room. Preschoolers worked on their shape recognition skills by matching shaped penguins to corresponding shapes. They had fun making penguin snowman patterns as a group and counting penguins on the touch view board. The best part was playing the ice cubes and penguins at the sensory table. Students had so much fun walking their penguins up a tall iceberg and sliding them down on their bellies back into the water. Before we go, just a reminder that Tuesday, January 23rd will be an early release day for professional development. That's it for the school news this week. We appreciate all the teachers who take the time to share their news with us. It helps provide us with an inside look at what is happening in our classrooms. Now, let's go to Ron Marshalsea with the latest in sports.
I'm Ron Marshalsea, and this is your sports update. The girls' basketball team took down Bellingham when they traveled there last Friday night, getting the big win 45-30. Bella Chorus, Ari Blake, and Joy Robinson all stepped up big for the Mustangs. Joy got to play her first varsity minutes in this one. The Mustangs hosted Norton Wednesday afternoon but didn't get the win despite great effort by captain Trisha Wachowski, who unfortunately got injured towards the end of the game. NCM wishes nothing but the best in your recovery, and we hope to see you back on the court soon. As of recording this sports update, the girls haven't played Bishop Feehan yet, but we'll let you know what happens on the next sports update. The boys basketball team hosted Bellingham last Friday night, where the Mustangs took down the Blackhawks 69-54 and are now 6-3 on the season. NCM broadcast the game live with former NHS basketball captains Noah Bodette and Dylan Hamway on commentary, and up on the walking track before the game, NCM aired the first ever winter edition of NHS TV Pregame Live. The game and NHS TV Pregame Live is now airing and available on demand on the NCM website, norwoodcommunitymedia.org. The girls' hockey team has suffered 3 losses in a row to Mansfield, Braintree, and King Philip. The team looks to get back in the win column when they head to Franklin on Wednesday the 24th, puck drop at 8 o'clock. The boys' hockey team clearly weren't happy about the overtime loss to Dover Sherburne last week, so they seemed to take it out on Bellingham Wednesday night when they bulldozed the Blackhawks, getting an 8-0 win. Goals in this one were scored by Braden Lee, who scored twice, Owen McDougall, TJ Martin, Andrew Gillis, Nick Berardinelli, Sam Lally, and Sviat Antipkin. Antipkin and Lee managed to score their first varsity goals in this one. The boys' next game will be on Saturday the 20th at Norton at 7:30. The gymnastics team faced a tough Medfield team but couldn't get the win. They will host Medfield Friday the 19th at 7:30. Last Friday, the swim and dive teams took on Ashland. The girls couldn't get the win, but the boys did damage against the Clockers, winning 82-52. And Caleb Kwan is again adding his name to NHS record books as he broke the school record in the 100 backstroke. The wrestling team is now 9-2 on the season after they swept the quad meet last Saturday, beating Milton 42-33, Oliver Ames 46-29, and Boston Latin 54-3. They also beat Bellingham 40-36. Also during the quad meet, senior Nate Sue got his 100th varsity win. Congratulations, Nate. 100 varsity wrestling wins is no small feat. More congratulations are due because NHS record holder for field hockey goals in a single season, Shay Larkey, was named the Boston Globe D2 Field Hockey Player of the Year and was named to the 2023 Max Field Hockey All-New England Region First Team. I think I can speak for NCM and all of Norwood when I say we cannot wait for next fall season to watch Shay and the field hockey team pick back up right where they left off. And that is all I have for this sports update. I'm Ron Marshalsea. And Norwood News will be right back after this break.
The Airport Commission met this week for a brief meeting where Mark Goodrich from Du Bois & King updated them on Taxiway C. The Airport Commission will meet again in February. Lately, a topic of popular discussion has been the crazy weather and storms. Mother Nature has definitely been in a little bit of a mood lately. As I'm sure you have noticed, there has been a lot of rain and coastal storms. Well, El Nino may have a big impact on these storms. Joe Della Carpini of the National Weather Service gives NCM an exclusive of the current weather pattern and the future outlook.
So what about this winter? Well, El Nino has been the big story, as I'm sure many of you have heard, and that refers to the warming of the waters off the Pacific coast of South America. That's down here in this box in the diagram. So when we see that, it's called El Nino, and the opposite is La Nina, which was what we saw last winter when the water was colder than average. But in either case, there's a connection between the ocean and the atmosphere, and that results in kind of global weather influences. It influences the jet stream on kind of the global scale. And right now, El Nino is forecast to continue into the spring. So it'll continue to influence us for the rest of the winter. Now, during winter here in New England, there really is no direct correlation between having an El Nino and what the weather pattern will be. It's more notable in other parts of North America, in particular the northern tier of states and in Canada, where it tends to be warmer than average. Along the desert Southwest into the Gulf Coast, it tends to be wetter than average and sometimes a little cooler as well. And that's because the Pacific jet stream is really very active in these situations. And that's certainly something we've seen this year. I'll talk about that in a minute. But this El Nino does provide kind of our global background for the winter. So overall, we kind of expect a milder winter in most cases, but we're also in a period of warming temperatures over the past 30 to 50 years and a greater frequency of seeing what we call heavy precipitation, meaning an inch or more of rain or even melted snow. So we can look back at past El Ninos, but it's often difficult because our background climate is changing too. So you can't make a direct correlation with those years. The other thing I always bring up too is if you remember throughout the 2000s, even the 2010s, we had many active winters, a lot of blizzards, not just 2015, but if you go back 2013 in February, we had a significant blizzard, and you can go back through the years. Those were 2 decades that were very snowy. So by the law of averages, maybe we're getting into a period now of even seeing some lighter winters just by, again, balancing things out. And that's what Mother Nature likes to do. So a lot of complicated factors go into winter outlooks. These are just some of the more primary influences that we kind of see for this year. So the one thing a strong El Nino does is it favors more coastal storms. And again, probably not much of a surprise to anybody because we've certainly seen a lot of these from December and into this month in January. Storm systems that form in the Gulf Coast and move up or offshore. A lot of the storms we've had haven't stayed close to the coast. They've actually headed into the Great Lakes, and that puts us on the warmer side of the storm. So that's why we've been seeing so much rain and warmer temperatures as opposed to snowstorms. But a lot of our stronger winter storms and blizzards fall into this category of what we call these Miller type A nor'easters. Again, the ones that form in the Gulf Coast. They track up the coast or offshore. And it has to do with that, as I mentioned, that Pacific jet stream. It's located across the southern tier of states So that's where all the storms are being generated this winter. So we do expect to see this pattern continue through into February and probably even early March as we go through the rest of the winter here. So we will have the opportunity certainly for more storms. And, if the timing is right, we get the cold air in place, we will get some snow from these as well.
Speaking of storms, the Morrow Memorial Library recently hosted the town of Norwood and the Neponset River Watershed Association, who gave a presentation regarding stormwater management in Norwood.
This presentation was about climate change and stormwater in Norwood and a couple of projects that the town has going on, looking at the Savage Center and the Cleveland School, as well as the implementation of a stormwater utility fee, which was presented by Alan Slater, who's on the Stormwater Utility Ad Hoc Committee. I think it's something like that. So looking at the flooding events that have been happening in Norwood and sort of the places that have been dealing with flooding and stormwater issues in Norwood and what the town's doing about those things and the projects that are happening. So going over projects at the Savage Center and the Cleveland School, as well as the implementation of a stormwater utility fee and what that would look like for Norwood for residents and also commercial properties. With all of the flooding problems that Norwood has seen, along with the storms that are predicted to happen in the future, the current town infrastructure just cannot handle the amount of water that is currently already happening. So when we're thinking about climate change 20, 50 years, that's only going to get worse, right? And infrastructure projects take a really long time to build and put in. So thinking about how do we do that now, right? How do we start planning for the future? What kinds of projects are most beneficial for the town? What is going to be sustainable long term? And also, how do we finance those projects? Because there isn't a lot of options when it comes to financing stormwater. Like we pay for utilities, we pay for electric, right? You pay for water to get pumped into your home, right? You pay for sewer services for water to be cleaned out of your home, but there isn't any dedicated money in a lot of towns for treating and preventing stormwater, and it's a really big problem for everyone. And unfortunately, water doesn't follow town boundaries, right? It doesn't follow property lines. So it is a collective problem that everyone has to deal with.
The Neponset River Regional Chamber held their annual meeting early Thursday morning. President of the Chamber, Tom O'Rourke, talks about the meeting and who the Chamber honored for the year 2023.
This is the 130th annual meeting of the Neponset River Regional Chamber, which is quite a story. We've been here for 130 years serving the local business community for the town of Norwood and the surrounding region. We do this once a year right here at the 4 Points in Norwood. So we had a lot of business leaders here today, members of the chamber, community leaders, members of local and state government, and we were able to present some awards to some businesses who have done some great things over the past year. We recognized Dave Dupree from the Norwood Space Center. We recognize Chestnut Hill Realty, which owns Norwest Woods and Norwood Gardens here in Norwood. Brook Meadow Country Club received an award, and Cheryl Leary from HESCO also received an award. So great opportunity for us to recognize the members who give back to the community. This is a great community of businesses that we've got together, and when businesses work together, a rising tide lifts all boats. So we'd love to have everybody be part of it.
Well, that's all for Norwood News. To stay up to date with Norwood Community Media, follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We're going to leave you with a list of upcoming events being covered by Norwood Community Media. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a great weekend.